Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a Monday. It is Monday, May 1st. Welcome to May, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the month that Memorial Day falls in. That's how quick this entire year is moving along. It is none other than your host, Dave Sturchio Chris Gueci, back after another weekend of loaded sports activity, especially on the Mojo Market. I don't know if you've noticed this. Last week, midweek, a little quiet. You didn't see it, but now if you look really hard, you're going to find that there's a lot of baseball getting involved here.
I understand why it was a little quiet. Last week there was a ton.
It's a
going
soft
down.
launch. And the draft and everything.
Soft launch with baseball, but there was NBA playoffs and
the NFL draft. Yeah, so there's a lot of movement all over the market. Your money probably shifted up, down, left, and right. But hopefully we're here to talk to you guys about a little bit more about what happened in the backstretch of the NFL draft after round one. Obviously, round 2 and 3 with Friday, 4, 5, 6, 7 on Saturday. A lot of cool things happened. And, of course, the NBA playoffs roll on. I'm trying not to get myself too down on one game. We'll get into that. And, of course, I got a Game 7 tonight, by the way. The Rangers and the Devils, Game 7, do or die in New Jersey. That should be fun. But, yeah, not really looking forward to that one. Not that you're a hockey guy, but last night, not late last night, but right before I went to bed, the Boston Bruins got bounced. And the interesting thing about the Boston Bruins is it continues the President's Day trophy. They were the best team in the league, set a record for most wins in the regular season, and get bounced in 7 games in the first round. Crazy. And we also saw that with Milwaukee, and we also in the NBA. So it happens. You know, it's very rare, but it does happen.
I'll celebrate it. Boston getting bounced in the first round when they were supposed to win. There's nothing sweeter,
especially honestly, from a New York market.
I don't really care
Absolutely.
much for the hockey guys, but I'm sure that there's plenty of Bruins fans that also root for the Red Sox. So
yes, so for that reason, congratulations on your early exit. The Yankees are in last. Can't really speak much on that one. It's just.
Well, they're in last, but what is it, like 4 games out of first?
8.
It's April 29th. It's May 1st.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Time to panic. Where's the panic button? I forgot where it is.
No, but realistically, it is a little bit time to panic because of the injuries are really troublesome at this point. But we haven't had a healthy team yet.
There's no offense. There's no offense.
It started with no pitching or injuries to pitchers. The pitchers weren't terrible in the beginning, but now it's just nothing. They have no bullpen. They have no offense. The middle of the lineup is Aaron Hicks.
Who should have been DFA last year. So just like you're looking at this team.
There's a lot that
I
we
can
can
go
talk
on and on about the Yankees right now.
Boone being one of them.
What's he supposed to do? You got this roster. You got to truck it out there every day.
It's tough. It's tough when you got to hear the same coach speak after another falling short type season, which obviously it's still May. I'm sure the Yankees are going to get hot when they get healthy. They haven't had Rodon yet.
They're going to figure out what's going on with Judge today, as a matter of fact, so we'll figure out.
Well, Judge is in trouble. I'm telling you that right now.
With the hip, yeah.
100%. Stanton we knew was in trouble, but, bro, I know it's only April.
You expect the Yankees to get hot even if they don't have a Judge in the stand?
Do you think, when you have a strained hip, a guy of Judge's size, that's not something you want to deal with in August? In April,
so if you got to shut him down,
August,
shut him down.
Exactly. 8 games is 8 games. We can't. Is Aaron Judge going to come back and to be the almighty savior? He wasn't even really hitting well.
Nobody was. So, in any event, the NFL draft, rounds 2 and 3, obviously on Friday, 4, 5, 6, 7 on Sunday. A couple things to talk about.
At least Volpe's good.
Yeah, at least Volpe's good. A couple things that. He's all right. Hope he's not a fraud. I mean, you got.
No, I mean he's young. He's
yeah,
gonna be all right.
Absolutely.
What were you gonna say, Dave?
I was gonna. You got some memorabilia from Volpe, so hopefully that doesn't really fall off the face of the earth that fast. All right, so look, we watched. It was Aaron Rodgers-esque type situation when we were watching Will Levis in the green room on Thursday night, where it was just who's gonna take him, who's gonna take him, who's gonna take him. Turns out nobody did in the first round. So there was a trade up in the second round. Early Friday night, everybody was kind of wondering where this kid was going to slip to. He didn't have to wait long. I don't think he was in the green room. I don't think he came back the next day. From what I saw, maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see him. But he does get drafted. The Titans move up, and they draft Will Levis. Do you feel like right away, the way they're labeling this kid is the heir apparent to Ryan Tannehill? Does that mean Malik Willis is beyond done? Like we thought it, but now it's like
he's still on a roster.
Sure.
And he still has, he's only 24, 23 years old, so he has an opportunity. He's still in the league. But I think it was evident by them even talking about trading up that they were, I wouldn't say that they're moving off of him altogether, but they need some competition in there, and they don't look at him as the clear-cut starter moving forward. But this is what I talk about all the time. Just because a quarterback gets drafted, everybody thinks that every quarterback gets drafted with the intention of this guy becoming the starter. There's hope that this guy becomes the starter, but really, when we're talking about the third round, right, we're talking about the third-round quarterbacks. They don't always pan out. First-round quarterbacks rarely pan out. You're going to take your chance, and a good backup quarterback that is able to do some things with his legs and come in and insert a different type of offense may help for a stopgap option. Malik Willis is not going to be the guy anytime soon where he's going to be handed the keys to a franchise. It's just not going to happen.
We kind of saw that. The writing was on the wall with the Dallas game last year on Thursday Night Football when Malik Willis is ready and able to play, and they signed Josh Dobbs off a practice squad. So it's like, okay.
Yes. Now, it doesn't. There's elements to this where it's like, yeah, there was writing on the wall, but the kid was still only in his 10th game as a pro, so maybe they're just not ready yet. That's a difficult offense maybe for him to pick up on, even though all they do is hand off.
Right.
But you understand what I'm saying. So Jordan Love didn't dress his first year. That didn't mean that they didn't view him as a potential starter.
Well, now
he didn't
is.
even dress.
Right.
So if Malik Willis didn't even dress last year, he couldn't have hurt his chances.
Truth.
So him being in there before he was ready, that could hurt his confidence. That could hurt your chances.
And he was in there for a little bit.
And I think it happened with Zach Wilson. I mean, I saw another video of Zach Wilson when he was standing at the draft. And he was just so.
Oh, he was so out of place.
Yes.
So out of place.
And,
I saw that same video. It was at that moment.
It was in this moment I realized Zach Wilson wasn't going to make it. It was also in that moment that I realized Zach Wilson wasn't going to make it. I just didn't make a meme out of it.
No, you did not. Speaking of another quarterback, also all eyes were on Hendon Hooker. We didn't know where he was going to go, how he slipped out of the first round. We understood why he slipped out of the first round. Obviously, you got the ACL thing coming off. It just happened in November. All the doctors are, of course, going to fluff you up a little bit, and they're going to say, hey, listen, this guy's good to go. Go draft him. He's the best, blah, 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 right? So we mocked. Well, we didn't. I guess it's hard to say mock when talking about the draft. We criticized the Lions for doing what they did on Monday. I don't want to say.
I didn't
Monday.
criticize them.
Thursday. Well,
Everyone
the world didn't understand it on Thursday when it all went down and they drafted the running back out of Alabama, Gibbs. Right? People were like, "What are you doing? You have Montgomery. You have DeAndre Swift." Nobody understood that the next day they would trade DeAndre Swift to the Eagles, who absolutely slaughtered this draft. And the Eagles got a whole hell of a lot better
with
over the weekend. But the reason why I bring up the Lions is because they did eventually take not only Gibbs, but they did draft Hendon Hooker as the guy to back up Josh.
But with the Lions,
Goff,
yes. With the Lions thing, for me, I think it was what I said the other day. It's like they signed David Montgomery because they don't believe in DeAndre Swift. They did not believe in DeAndre Swift. It's clear as day that they've been looking for opportunities for other players. DeAndre Swift has been there for 3 years. He hasn't lived up to it. So even if they weren't able to pull the trigger on the trade, I don't think that they view him as a starter in this league or even as a guy that they could count on. So while Philly may have gotten themselves a nice piece because you add him into a mix where it's like he's almost a forgotten guy, I think he'll be there for about 4 games, just like every other season.
My favorite comment that I get to drop a lot in this instance when these guys, Fox Sports or somebody put out who's stopping this offense, and it's like Hurts and AJ Brown. All of a sudden, DeAndre Swift is there, and I was like, the injury report stops this offense come week 3. Let's all pump the brakes.
Will stop almost any offense.
Everybody, calm down. But look, the Eagles, you can't take anything away. What they got landed in, they stepped all into the poop on Thursday and Friday because, of course, you have guys.
Is DeAndre Swift going to beat out Gainwell? I doubt it.
I don't know. That's another thing. They got Gainwell on the roster, so we'll see. But keep your eye on Gainwell's stock. We talked about Gainwell last year. I was a killer against specifically the Giants, but overall, the kid's good.
That was Boston Scott.
That was Boston Scott. How many freaking running backs does this team have?
3 now.
Well, now 4.
Well, 3. Miles Sanders is gone.
Yes, Miles Sanders is out in there. And Carolina, who also had a decent draft. My eyes were on Michael Mayer, also tight end out of Notre Dame. A lot of people were wondering where he was going to slip. He goes to the Raiders, and I think the Raiders absolutely filled the need there with the loss of Darren Waller, right? Foster Moreau, they obviously don't know that situation happened. But now you look at it all right, who's going to help Jimmy G? Who's going to be the underneath guy? Michael Mayer might actually flourish in this offense, considering the fact that there's a lot of attention that goes on to a Devontae Adams. So we'll see. But Mayer was one of the guys that I kept my eye on. The Dallas Cowboys, I thought for sure were going to draft a tight end, and they did. They just drafted a tight end that, I didn't expect. I had to hit up Mike Salerno, who's a big Wolverines guy. I said, talk to me about Mozzie and talk to me about this guy. And he's like, Mozzie is an animal, which the Cowboys drafted a defensive tackle who is just, I watched a Baldy breakdown today on him. Dude sheds blocks. It's incredible. But Schoonmaker is their tight end of choice with the tight end room that they already have. So I don't know if they got the value that I would have jumped all over.
Well, he's just another guy to go into the back end of that mix and maybe push one of the other guys. If he's talented, we'll find out.
Of course, there's the Spider-Man meme going with 4 tight ends.
You're not going to find out about that kid for a little bit because he was a late-round tight end. Tight ends take longer.
Yeah,
I understand the value of the tight end position nowadays. You saw it. They talked about it all weekend. This is a loaded tight end class. But the reason why tight ends struggle to make their way in the league out of the gate is because they don't get the reps that a receiver gets. They don't get the reps that a lineman gets. You have to split your practices up. So when you're working with individual, position drills, the receivers are working, the linemen are working, the tight ends are in no man's land. They have to go work.
I coach tight ends in high school.
Have to practice with the receivers. Have to practice with the offensive line. They're dealing with defensive ends, and then they're dealing with cornerbacks and safeties. They got to deal with a lot of shit. Excuse my language, but.
It's the truth.
When you get a tight end that's elite and you can work it out, you look at the teams around the NFL. Most of the elite teams have a really good tight end.
Couple other. Speaking of Dallas, staying on Dallas for a second, there was a really cool story at the end of this draft. It's funny. My colleague over at a podcast that I do with the Cowboys, entitled the Jersey Boys Podcast. Go figure, Jersey Cowboys fans. With myself, Brett, and Keith Ernst. Keith was talking to me about Deuce Vaughn. Got to go get Deuce Vaughn. And I'm like. Deuce Vaughn, he's 5'5". Like, why am I going to go up? Turns out his father is a scout for the Cowboys. His dad was able to call him up on day 3, talk to him about draft, and asked him if he wanted to come to work with his dad.
It's very unbecoming of a pro franchise to waste a pick on a PR move, but I get it.
It's not. Did you see the kid run? He's actually pretty damn good.
So he's an NFL player that could run good? No way.
He's very shifty. I don't know what he's going to do. They're calling him the next
5'5".
Darren
He
Sproles.
better be shifty. It's like he's a powerhouse. He's going to bulldoze you. 5'5".
But as soon as
the next words that come attached to an NFL player that's 5'5" better be shifty. It better be shifty. That's all I'm going to say there. With good acceleration.
Yes. And there is that. But speaking of that, they draft a running back. And then, of course, Jerry, how'd the draft go? I don't know, but we're not closing the door on Zeke Elliott. He's a fine young man. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? But I'll let it all play out. We'll see what happens. We might need that 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches.
Should have said he's a fine old man.
Short down back. We'll see. The Giants got a steal late in the draft as well. Jalen Hyatt goes over there from Tennessee. So, not
he's
excited
wide
about
receiver
that.
1 out of the gate.
I think so.
I mean, I don't know how he's going to take to the playbook, and I don't know how they just let Kadarius Toney walk for nothing. Play him, and he was the most talented receiver. But this guy's from this regime, a vertical threat that could definitely take the top off the defense. I think Daniel Jones hasn't had a receiver outside of Toney with the talent level that Jalen Hyatt has. But he's a little undersized. He might get pushed around at the line of scrimmage. We
shall see. The Steelers.
6 foot, but 170. So he's tall enough, but
lanky.
he's very lanky.
I'm looking at the Steelers that they got themselves a hell of a player, slipped all the way. I don't know what the heck was going on with Darnell Washington. There was a lot of red flags about health, and everybody seemed to do their due diligence, and he kept slipping and slipping and slipping. And now he winds up as tight end 2 in Pittsburgh, and now it's Freiermuth, and it's Washington, and it's the outside guys that they're adding, A-Rob. All of a sudden, Kenny Pickett's got himself a fine offense to work with and grow around. Did you hear about did you say this on Friday about the picket fence?
No, it's corny.
It is very corny. Hilarious.
If you guys went from the steel curtain to the picket fence, like, what are we, a mom on a Saturday afternoon, right? You're going to plant flowers out there?
It's a fun little Saturday. You're going to go to Home Depot.
I do think that the Steelers did wonders by improving their offensive line. That's their biggest bugaboo, was not creating running lanes for Najee. I think Kenny Pickett's able to create in the pocket, and he's going to be a lot better this year. Getting outside of the Chase Claypool trade and turning that into Joey Porter Jr., a local kid with some ties to the franchise. That was a good move. Pittsburgh, I feel like they did a lot of good things over the weekend.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens.
Very on brand for
the
Pittsburgh.
Ravens obviously improved. They got their receiver. Let's see if their offense gets clicking. Obviously, the Bengals are always good, and the Browns, I mean, we're going to see how that could be a suspect.
The Browns
thing.
have any draft picks?
I didn't see any.
Like what? I don't see.
They gave them all up for Watson.
Yeah, but
it felt like all of them.
Any?
Did you see oh my God, like the Texans, the Arizona Cardinals, guys like that. they got stockpile draft picks next year, so we'll see what happens. The early consensus overall number 1 is Caleb Williams. Go get his IPO right now if it's available.
Who's going to be number 1 pick next year now that everything is settled after the draft?
Caleb Williams.
No. Which team?
Oh,
the
which
Texans
team?
Still? Texans are going to have a choice to make between Stroud and Caleb Williams.
I look at the AFC South as there's some winnable games there, so that's why I don't necessarily think the Texans are going to stink out loud. I like D'Amico Ryans over there as their coach. No, see, I like the Bears too, man.
What about the Bears do you like?
I think another year, Justin Fields with another weapon and just the offensive line.
Weapon?
Huh?
Who's their other weapon?
Well, they have Mooney coming back again, and then they also have Mooney. So
Chase Claypool.
Was
there a bum receiver that they just added this offseason? Did they get somebody?
He sounds like a Packers fan, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm curious. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that they did add a receiver, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, Super Bowl.
He's not
obviously.
a bum, but I think DJ Moore is very regular.
And they got rid of David Montgomery, which means all the shift goes to another running back.
So basically, you could just stack the box because nobody, even DJ Moore isn't beating you deep. You know, like you have to worry about underneath with the Bears. And
if I had to make a bold prediction right now on May 1st, 2023, of who's going to be in the conversation,
Bears are in the top
for
five
the number 1 pick. Keep your eye on Tampa Bay. I don't think they do any good. And look,
we're talking about another crap division though, with some winnable games.
Yeah. But I see Atlanta getting better. The Rams, who drafted somebody older than both of us, Stetson Bennett goes to the Rams.
So the Rams, I could easily see the Rams, even though they got the little Georgia connection, they're the same age. The Stafford's gonna be like, weren't we in an orientation together?
You were in my dorm.
Right?
You were in my dorm.
Weren't we in orientation? What happened, bro?
He's like that Brady meme where he's like, he just sees his roommate. Anyway, the NFL draft, it comes and goes. Kuiper gave 4 A grades: Philly, Seattle, Arizona, and the Giants. So 2 NFC East teams get an A grade as far as overall draft. So if you want
to know who the first pick is going to be. Like, is it that hard to identify a crap team? I know the Bears are going to stink, right? I think the Lions are going to regress.
The Lions might regress a little bit. I feel like they lost a lot. They lost their D coordinator. Things like that kind of shift. Washington Commanders, I mean, Sam Howell, we don't know how he's going to be, and they didn't address anything else. Carson Wentz is out of the league, by the way.
Ron Rivera's like...
Ron Rivera doesn't even know when his team is doing the OTAs.
Oh, man. How long did he play for?
Ron Rivera?
Yeah.
Play for?
I'm sure he played. It looks like an O-lineman through and through.
I don't know if he had a playing career.
I'll put my life on it.
As we segue, you look that up. We can segue over to the NBA over the weekend. Now, look, there's a lot of things going on. Obviously, there was one Game 7, which is incredible to watch. Just so you know, after last night's performance, Steph Curry drops 50 points and sends the Warriors onto the second round to take on the Lakers, who took care of business on Saturday night. That was Friday night. Overall, just a beatdown. Did he play?
Yeah, he played 137 games in the league as a linebacker for the Bears, or a lineman.
You said lineman, so.
Well, I don't know. He looks either way. He's definitely a D lineman or a D.
Okay.
He had 7.5 sacks.
So maybe he should suit up then, too, while he's at it, because they need help, and they don't even want Chase Young. But you're looking at this over the weekend, and the Lakers solidify what they did. You know, John Morant, obviously everybody goes back to this, talking about how, I'm going to stay in the West. I don't know if you want to do that anymore. The Lakers took things personally. The Lakers put a beat down on Memphis when it mattered.
I'm okay in the West. When they were like, how he was just saying like, there's no one in the West that could mess with the
right.
The
and look, you could say the same thing about Sacramento, which their fan base were giving them all the flowers, saying like, hey, thank you so much. We got ourselves a future here, and that could be true. But what we said, or at least what I said, is that the Warriors and the Lakers entering the playoffs were looking at the top, the 2 and the 3, and they're saying, we can take those guys. You know what I mean? Like, we can absolutely take those guys. It took 7 for Curry. It took 6 for LeBron. It's going to be a hell of a series. I mean, when you look at these teams now, it's marquee. You know what I mean? It's the Steph Curry, Draymond, Clay, and then there's LeBron, AD, D'Angelo. It's going to be a hell of a series. I mean, do you have a lean?
Lakers.
Yeah?
Yeah. If I just see a little bit of different things out of LeBron right now, where it's almost like he's taking notice of the way he should be when it comes to not being so friendly on the court. Mm-hmm. He's actually playing like a dog.
He's playing like a dog. Absolutely, need that.
He was exchanging zero pleasantries on the court. Desmond Bane almost got beat up straight up, like in the paint. John Morant was like, chill. He's like, nah, F that.
That was old.
He ain't
That's
hooping.
old.
Deal. All right.
Okay.
But then you hear him after the game, and he's talking shit on Twitter, right? LeBron James right now, I'm just talking about what year 18 or year 20 LeBron is bringing to the table.
A lot.
All season and then into the postseason. They woke him up. They shouldn't have done that. I get it. I don't personally think it's a big deal to give locker room material. I don't think LeBron like played harder because of that. I truly don't.
Yeah, but this is LeBron James.
Fair.
This is a branded dude.
I just think that if you're Dylan Brooks, you shouldn't open your mouth.
Yeah,
the only person that should be talking shit on that team should be Ja. That's it. That's it. Everybody else,
And
keep
even
their mouth
him,
shut.
not for nothing, but Ja may have cost him team a different matchup by doing what he did.
Put himself in a bad spot.
Absolutely
and
bad
he's not
spot.
one to talk. And honestly, he owned up to it after. I was like, what else are you going to do? He said, yeah, 100%. Like, my off-the-court issues affected this team. I take responsibility. What you want to hear him say.
Listen, the Memphis Grizzlies will be around, so it's not like it's a foregone conclusion.
Man.
What, they're going to drop off all of a sudden?
I just
They were
don't
the three.
look. Teams don't stick together
the
from
two.
Memphis. Memphis will lose players. Like teams ain't nobody.
I
wants
mean,
to
is
see
that
them.
a destination? I don't know.
How long before you hear rumors that John Morant's unhappy in Memphis? Maybe this offseason. And even
take
if
him
it's
in New
not
York.
true, I'm talking about the rumors. It's
Right.
going to happen if you don't
Sure.
start getting help or this or that. That's how it goes down.
So there was game one of a second round over on Saturday. The Nuggets take care of the Suns despite Durant and Booker. Not enough. Obviously, they had great games, but Murray 34, the Joker 24, Gordon 25, team collective effort. Not enough over there. So they got not only they got to fire on all cylinders to get back in the series. Now 1-0 is obviously just 1-0, but you look at the Suns and you're like, this is the team. That's the team we picked. We're all in the Suns are going to dominate. And then Nuggets take game one, and you're like, all right, well, how much more they have to dominate? Because they, again, they scored a lot of points, man. So it's not like it wasn't like they shied away from the bucket. They hit their shots when they needed to. It's just that, a little bit more of a better fourth quarter, a monster second quarter out of Denver. Monster second quarter.
Yeah, I mean,
it just wasn't clicking enough.
This is going
towards
to be
the
a good
end.
series.
It is.
Also.
It is.
The Suns, didn't they lose game one last series and they just completely pasted them there?
They pasted them after that, yeah.
I really wouldn't make too much about it. Game one on the road in a 7-game series, that's standard. Taking that out.
And of course, my beloved New York Knicks yesterday. Game one in the Garden. Everybody's there. Lonzo Mourning's there. Patrick Ewing, John Stark. All the 90s Knicks are there. Van Gundy's on the call. Like, you're looking at this game. I don't think Van Gundy was on the call, by the way. I think he did the game 7. But you look at this game. One thing you can't do is be up as much as the Knicks were up and just kind of fall off the face of the earth. They had a lot of points in the paint in the early going of this game. Credit to Eric Spoelstra, who made the adjustments to shut down the paint, shut it down, and then it forced the Knicks to take a lot of three-point shots. The Knicks went 7 for 34 from three-point land. That ain't gonna get it done.
Yeah, I mean,
it ain't gonna get it done. Not in the playoffs.
Everybody could say you got to rebound better. You got to
you gotta hit your
You got
shots.
to play better defense. If you shoot 7 for anything from three in this day in NBA, you're not winning that game.
No, you're not. And the wheels fell off kind of quickly. Listen, I got to ask you a question. You're a basketball guy. You've been, for your entire life. Are you in favor of a playoff? Now, keep in mind, we are deep now into the heart of the season. Now we're in the postseason. Thibodeau has this tendency to have this 7-8-man rotation in the playoffs. I just don't. I'm not saying Fournier or Jalen Rose is going to give you quality minutes. I'm not saying that at all. But is there a point that you just feel gassed after a while with a 7-8-man rotation in the playoffs?
I mean, maybe, but
Is that just that lack of depth, or he just doesn't want to play
Look,
anybody?
when we're talking about lack of depth, potentially, guys that aren't proving their worth and they're not giving the effort, and it's the postseason. You need your best players on the court.
I understand
and you need to suck it up.
I get it.
And if you're asking guys that have been a part of a championship, they've all had to dig deep. You got to dig deep. That's what makes it.
But what I'm
hard.
saying is, this rotation yesterday was also without Julius Randle. So it's just like you're telling me you don't want any more quality minutes anywhere else.
Do you think that the eighth? I mean, how many?
I don't know.
Maybe here or there, but I don't know that putting the 8th or 9th guy in the rotation in the game ever is going to erase 11-point deficit. Like, how much more time?
They are not. Listen, I'll tell you right now, they're not deep at forward. They're just not. So that's when Randall goes out. I'm not.
And then that's another thing.
You got
size-wise, you have to keep the guys out there that could match
right.
up.
And you see how these guys move the ball without Randall, and it actually kind of felt like a little bit like smooth like butter. And I'm like, all right, you know what? They can do this without Randall, and they were doing it without Randall.
They can't.
But they can't. You're right. They will not be able to win this series
it's one thing
without
to have
Julius Randle, their best
It's
scorer.
one thing to have spurts, but it's another thing to have a guy that you could turn to when things are tough, even if it's in a timeout and he could get the guys together. You know, putting back those offensive rebounds that he seems to be pretty good at, right? Those are the things that Randall's bringing to the table, doing a little bit of the dirty work that most star players on their teams don't get to do, because when he's not shooting, he does crash the boards.
Yeah.
You know, look, the Knicks.
It is game
the
one.
Knicks are having a super successful season. They're without their star player. They're on house money right now. It just so happens that they're also playing a team on house money, right?
House money, and also Jimmy Butler goes down like he was sniped out of the last
point.
row of the
It
Garden.
looked
It's
bad
like,
too,
what?
but this is to the point. Jimmy Butler's a dog. You saw him at the end of that playoff series in the last round, and Jimmy Butler he was on his 50th minute, right, in overtime, and he's getting the ball and he's pushing it up court, and he's beating everyone to the basket.
Right.
Everyone. So when we're talking about, like, do these guys tired? You might be, but this is what you're up against in the NBA playoffs, so you need to step your game up.
Yeah.
And furthermore, work out harder in the season. Be ready for the postseason. Don't get tired.
Agreed. I'm with it. Again, one game.
It's not easy, guys.
Not going to get crazy.
You'll be an NBA champion.
There it is. Not going to get too crazy about one game, but you don't want to lose two at the Garden, that's for sure. So you got to split now. You got to get the momentum back, headed back into Miami next week. All right, so do us a favor, guys. Follow us along with the social media, Twitter, which is all over the NBA draft, the NFL draft, by the way. Instagram, TikTok, it's all over, all the coverage. Join the Discord. Get on over there. Talk to us each and every day over at Mojo. And, of course, be safe while doing this. The MLB IPOs are out there. The futures are out there. So we might want to talk to a couple of our colleagues and say, hey, go invest some money in some of these guys if you think they're going to come up. Because what I watched on this NFL draft, I'm all over the place today. The NFL draft, when it happened, guys' stock prices were skyrocketing. But then you see guys that were supposed to be early picks, like a Hendon Hooker, stock drops a little bit. But again, this is all fluid. It's all going to keep moving. You got OTAs coming up, schedule release coming up, see where everybody falls. So, yeah, that's a show today. So, for Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. We're back here tomorrow to break some down, some more NBA. And, of course, anything that pops off, we'll fill you in right here. Take care, everybody.